Good afternoon, everyone. I call to order the regular board meeting for GCC, October the 13th at 3 p.m. Welcome to our board meeting. I will now do roll call. Mr. Anderson,
Here.
Mr. Block,
Here.
Mandrick, Mr. Mandrick, not answering, not here. Mr. Turner,
Here.
and Campbell here. Please note there are 4 board members present, 1 not present at this time. Again, thank you all, Superintendent Peterson, cabinet members who are here, glad to see you, and those of you who are online with us this afternoon. Welcome, and we appreciate your being here with us. Mrs. Blythe, thank you. Contreras, thank you for being here with us. So with that, do we have public comments, Mr. Sample or Mrs. Contreras?
Madam President, there are no public comments that have came in.
Okay, great. And so with that, we will continue on with our board agenda, which is relatively short today. So we will start off with our superintendent's update, and we're very glad you're with us. And it's up to you now.
All right, so very pleased to be with you today and to be able to update the board and those listening online. I do want to affirm the board and thank you for your willingness to change today's meeting time from the usual 4:45 until 3 p.m. As most of you know, that is to be able to accommodate for a meeting that was rescheduled by Yolo County for our EPIC annual report that will follow. So thank you to everyone for their flexibility in these times. So just a few things to update you with. We are in 2020, once again, a nominated Best Places to Work in Sacramento. And this week we will be digitally, virtually attending the Best Places to Work ceremony to see where we may have been awarded or placed. We're very excited. Just being nominated is a real testimony to our employees and their belief in us and their answers on a very long survey related to being an employee with us and how they are valued. And so we definitely want to give a shout out to all of our employees who answer that survey. It often comes at a difficult time. It comes in summer. And so to get the number of responses necessary means a great deal to us. So we will be updating the board on our status after we attend that ceremony. It is, this week is the National Week of School Administrator, and you had, as a board, recognized that that was this week. And this week we will be celebrating our school administrators. We are going to be providing them with a boxed meal at an outdoor event where they are socially distanced, and yet in the same general physical proximity, but safely with a mask on, and receiving their certificate of appreciation in that manner. We're all doing the best we can in this unusual world we live in, but definitely want to affirm our administrators this week, as I know you do, for all they're doing more than ever during this pandemic to be leaders of excellence and to help us through these kind of rough waters that we are surfing right now. We are in the midst of the GIS, Gateway International School Renewal with San Juan Unified School District, as you're well aware of. Those discussions have been ongoing regarding what timeline is best for both entities. We feel we are on track for a very excellent in-depth collaboration together in regards to our renewal with GIS. We're very grateful for San Juan. They've been an excellent partner with us, including not only supporting our academic endeavors, but they have been very strong partners in facilities, as you know, with the extensive modernization that we're undergoing right now. Could not have happened without their partnership. A few district board members from San Juan are going to, or at least have certainly expressed an interest, and we're going to work on getting them a tour so that they can see that modernization and the facilities work and picture what our school is like when we are able to be in that space. as I've told you in the past, I'm in the midst of what has become a lengthy experience. The fall presentations start in fall and go almost into winter, but I have completed CCCS McClellan, HLA, Futures, Saba, Epic, and Gateway International School so far. I still have CCCS K-8, COA Elementary, and COA Middle School. And then fall superintendent presentations will be complete. It has been quite an honor to be doing this in a virtual setting, and to date, they have been well received. When we complete those, as you know, we will try to figure out what does coffee with the superintendent look like virtually. Not quite sure, Jason, you and I have to put our heads together about how you serve up coffee digitally. But that is usually our January experience to create connection with all of our sites. So we'll see what we can do. Our equity work, we're very pleased to say, is continuing despite all that faces us with the pandemic and our responses. We continue to implement the goals of our diversity, equity, and inclusion plan that we have shared with you. We have gotten more and more input from staff on this. We've also been working with Hanover Research. Recently, we had a session with them where they did a case study with one of our schools and dove into our data with an equity lens. We're also working with Nicole Anderson of Anderson Associates with at least 2 different schools, if not more, on cultural proficiency training and discussions and plans. One of those is our Futures High School campus, as well as our COA Middle School campuses are both a part of those discussions. We are continuing our book study for Shattering Inequities with our administrators. They're doing a great job with their reflections on that on a regular basis. Our monthly principal meetings and budget meetings have been very lively. Aaron will attest to the lively discussions about budget at the moment. Some of the liveliness with monthly budget meetings is that we, of course, have some significant funds that have to be expended in certain timelines in very specific ways. And I want to really affirm both Aaron Thornsbury and Omira Reyna for their work in helping the sites to know best how to spend those monies to maximize their impact for our students. I continue to be a part of the AXA Superintendents Leadership Council. I had been doing that in an informal manner. Now I am formally the Region 3 representative to that council. Really good information comes from those meetings, and I continue to be impressed with AXA's leadership in the area of all that this state is facing on an education basis. I do want to inform the board in terms of communications that we have received a communication that was CC'd to our board president, Ms. Lily Campbell, regarding the fact that one of our schools, CCCS, was chosen to be audited for the Prop 39 Clean Energy Jobs Act. It's very standard process. They pick a certain number that they audit. CCCS just happens to be one of the ones they've chosen. Above that, there's not really anything that involves the board other than it was CC'd to Ms. Campbell and the board. So I know that Aaron and his team is already well prepared to respond to the communication and the requests for documentation, and no audits are fun audits, but you know, it's always a good opportunity to show the excellence that we provide in all areas of our organization. And that, Ms. Campbell, is my update.
Thank you very much. Any comments or questions from the board before I make my comments? Seeing no hands. You said the letter was being CC'd to me. I have not received it at this point. So
I do not believe that they actually physically sent it to multiple people. They on the bottom CC'd about 5 people, you being one, me being
okay.
one, Aaron being one, but I really think it's one email.
Oh, just one email.
Yeah,
Okay.
but it is standard in the face of any kind of audit that they CC the board
Right.
president. So it is just it's just an information item, nothing of concern.
Nothing. Okay.
No, nothing of concern.
Okay, and would you please, on behalf of the board, to all of the school administrators, give them our best and thank them for their diligence and all of the hard work. So on behalf of the board, we really appreciate everything that they are doing for the students and the parents. So thank you. And we wish them a wonderful week of recognition, and make sure the box lunch is good.
We'll do the best we can.
All right. And how is it going with Nicole Anderson and the equity piece that she's doing working with schools?
We are very pleased
Feedback?
with our, we're very pleased with our partnership with Nicole Anderson and Anderson and Associates. And
Mhm.
Jason in particular is a point on some of that work, but she has been highly responsive and the work is progressing.
Okay, very good. All right. So with that, anything else from board members? Any questions, comments? Again, thank you for your hard work, and so glad that you're still working with the superintendents and now Region 3 person. Okay, so with that, we shall move into our study session. And the very first one is GCC schools reopening update. And I know board members are waiting for this to hear where we are and where we're going.
I believe this is a partnership or tag team, if you will, with Deputy Superintendent Sample and Assistant Superintendent Dr. McCormick.
All right.
Hey, thank you, Dr. Peterson. Good afternoon, board president, members of the board. Myself and Dr. McCormick are happy just to kind of take some time to share with you and walk through with you kind of what's happening up to now in terms of our school reopening and our future plans. I think it's very important just to kind of start off by sharing, and we have kind of made sure that we say this all the time. I think Dr. Peterson said this very early on during this process, that this is very fluid. In other words, it's always changing. It's always kind of moving as guidance and becomes more applicable. All right. Where is it at? There it is. Okay. So the first thing is on September the 29th, Sacramento and Yolo County, both counties moved to the area of red. And basically what happened is for a number of weeks, we were in the purple or the widespread. And then once we moved into red, Sacramento County really began the detailed and the deep work of saying, what would things looking as we reopen businesses, as we reopen schools, and those conversations really started a little bit deeper around that time. As of today, Sacramento County still remains in the red. However, we are progressing in the right or in the positive direction as we continue to move towards the orange. So we're really excited and happy about that. So for us, it really came down to looking at, as we begin to move into the red, what would be our plans and what would be the components of the plans. And so working with Sacramento County Public Health as well as Sacramento County Office of Education, 11 key areas were outlined that each plan should have. The plans should address cleaning and disinfection, cohorting, how will we group our students, entrance, egress, as well as movement within the school, face coverings and PPEs, healthy hygiene practices, as well as overall operations, contact tracing, getting our staff trained in contact tracing and what that means, physical distancing, as well as our staff training, and then the triggers and our plan for if there was an outbreak to be able to switch back to distance learning without problems, as well as our communication and food services plan. So Dr. McCormick and I are going to walk you through some of these components of our plans, as well as some next steps for us. So the area that we've been really working deeply on over the course of the last few weeks is kind of what we call those outside areas. So our prevention measures, ensuring that we have protocols for cleaning, our products have been ordered, our PPEs for staff are ordered and they are in. Our food services, Aaron and myself have been working with the Twin Rivers team to look at what food services will look like for our students as we continue to move towards reopening. Air quality, our facilities department has been looking at what it would take to optimize fresh air into all of our classrooms, our an attention to air filtration for those areas that don't have the windows to let air in. Cleaning, Aaron and Jerry Little, our facilities coordinator, have met with our custodial staff as well as our maintenance crew to let them know what our cleaning protocols are. for each of our school facilities, and then our staff training, even up until this past Monday with our professional development day. Our staff have all been trained on COVID protocols, as well as healthy and safe work environment and workspace. And then communications, continuing our ongoing communications with all of our stakeholders, especially our parents and our staff. So some of the things that we've been looking at is data from our stakeholder groups or from our stakeholder surveys. Each of our school sites have started a process of doing data. And so I'm going to share with you some approximates and some preliminary data. For us, this collection at this point is an ongoing in terms of we are still collecting information, and we're still using this, and we will be using all of this information to inform the planning that is happening. So at our site-based schools, approximately 70% of our population would like a hybrid option as they return, with about 25% who would like to remain within a distance learning format. For our non-classroom base, approximately 40% would like a hybrid, with 50% remaining in the distance learning. And as we've been talking with our non-classroom based programs, a lot of that 50% has to do with just their model already. And so having that conversation with their parents to let them know what that means. To really look and see what is happening for us, we're also monitoring our local districts as well as our authorizers around us to see what their plans are and what is happening in terms of their reopening. And so at this point, the only Sacramento County School District that has given a public reopening plan, I know many of them are still going through their processes, the Folsom Cordova, but we still monitor all of our local surrounding districts, understanding that for us, what's really going to drive our work is what our parents, what our families say, what their needs are. And so we're really relying very heavy on the stakeholder data and surveys to really help us inform that decision. And so Dr. McCormick is going to share with you a little bit about our individualized school plans.
So as Mr. Sample shared, really looking at that stakeholder feedback, and then he and I are meeting with each school as they begin to develop and start to address those areas that he reviewed. Some of the things they're considering is how do we develop a phase-in plan to really support the needs of some of our high need populations, our students with disabilities, our homeless and foster youth. What's our best practices to ensure our English learners are getting the supports that they need, and how would we really identify those students first and build in a process to bring them on campus. The same with our career technical education. What would small cohorts look like? So these are all questions that we're asking each of the sites based on that feedback. How are they going to balance face-to-face content with distance learning? What does that look like? Will teachers be providing live instruction to the students that are face-to-face, but also broadcasting? What technology would we need to do that? What are our safety and cleaning protocols based on the scheduling, the start times, where they're serving students meals, what student breaks look like? How are we getting students on and off campus? All those sort of detailed questions that we're asking them to reflect on and build into their plans. Our schools had a professional development day on Monday, and a lot of the focus of their time was really about that transition. How do we support student or teachers with the technology in their classroom, whether it's a smart board, those pieces to help with this process of finding a new model to deliver instruction, and then that meal service piece that Mr. Sample talked about, working with Twin Rivers Unified to ensure we're giving access to food to all of our students, not just those that are on campus.
So what's next, as well as our ongoing steps? As Dr. McCormick just shared, plans are being developed at each school site. We're utilizing the state guidance as our framework for what those plans should include. Dr. McCormick and myself are meeting individually with each principal to review the plans, to provide support, to walk through, to answer questions. Dr. Peterson is also very actively, as well as CBO Thornsberry, are also very actively involved in that process of kind of these conversations to shape what each plans are. And then after that, our plans will be provided to the Sacramento County Public Health Department for their review and comment, in which they will have the opportunity to give us their feedback and input in terms of what our plans look like. And then obviously we will continue our ongoing monitoring of the local and state guidance. I think I will tell you it's very fluid. It's kind of a moving target, but we have been well positioned to continue working with it, to continue being able to be responsive. And then I think something that has been a very strong suit of ours is our ongoing communication with our staff and parents, letting them know what's happening, giving them information, even in many times before they hear it in the newspaper, we are in front of it so that they have confidence in knowing that we are looking at ways to bring them back safely and with the highest level of health and integrity. Finally, I think I'll put this up here again just to remind us all that we are trying to turn Sacramento orange. And I will tell you, even though it's just Sacramento, it's also YOLO. But we are trying to turn the entire area orange. And so we have been, again, very active in our own community outreach, not only to our stakeholders, but to our community at large, letting them know the importance of being healthy and being safe. And with that, we will take your questions.
Okay. All right, I'm looking for hands. You need to take my orange off so I can see my board members. Thank you very much. Board members, yes, Jack, I know you were interested in the presentation. Yes, I recognize your hand, Jack.
Jason, I have a question for you. Do you see any conflict if an LEA remains in a distance learning format and we go to a hybrid model?
So I really don't see any conflict, and I'll share with you why. I think, in our meeting, even with the County Office of Education, Superintendent Dave Gordon and others, it really has been you need to have these decisions driven by your local stakeholders and by your individuals. So we're really letting our plans be driven by what our parents say. And my assumption is that our LEAs are likewise doing the same. They're taking the feedback from their stakeholders to drive their planning. So honestly, I think we have some 20 odd districts in Sacramento County. I think you're going to see 20 odd different school district plans, just like there's 9 different plans for us based off of what our parents are saying they need.
Yes, I was just referring to one of the articles I read today about the teachers union not supporting returning to distance to in-classroom learning until a later date. They're obviously one of the stakeholders. So, and I assume our staff are also invited to, put their input on whether we go to a hybrid model or whether we do a continue with distant learning. By the way, thank you very much for the update. Very, very insightful.
Great, thank you.
Yes, Harry, and then Mark.
My question is, what date are we thinking about this hybrid model coming about? I mean, I see that we're now in a red tier 2. I just got an email from the county about a half hour ago saying that we're now in red tier 2. So when?
So as Dr. McCormick shared in terms of dates, again, each of our school sites as part of their planning is looking at different phase in or phase up populations. And so our dates are going to be very different, and they're going to be driven by kind of the surveys of parents and others who have kind of given input to drive that. So I think at a later date, as we get closer to finalizing those plans, we will have the dates for each of our school sites.
Mark.
And if I could just say something before Mark goes in, just reiterating what Jason said, we don't have specific dates other than, excuse me, we have encouraged each site to have 3 or 4 phases of opening. a phase, as Dr. McCormick said, for our special education and English learners, and maybe a few weeks after that, a phase that expands to the next fragile or vulnerable population, and then maybe a phase after that that gets more numbers on campus, and that those 3 phases might happen before a true hybrid even goes into place. So each of those phases has a smaller number in them, which allows you to test your safety protocols. Are we able to clean everything? Do we have enough time? Is there enough custodians? And so while not being able to tell you the exact day, I can tell you that I know Dr. McCormick and Mr. Sample are encouraging that each of those phases has to be at least a couple weeks to allow for that learning, to ensure that the safety protocols work for the smaller groups before we expand to more numbers.
Mark, I believe you had your hand.
Let me take off muting.
Yeah.
So, and I concur, it was a very good presentation. Thank you for the update, both of you. What's been the general temperament of the parents? Because, you know, you see the news clips and there's people on one side and others on other sides. How have the parents been regarding the communication that we've been putting out to them?
Well, I will tell you, in terms of our parents, they've been very appreciative of the communication, not only from the GCC, but also from their school sites. Overall, I feel like our parents are appreciative of the fact that we've kept them informed all along the process, and we are seeking their input into kind of what's next. So I will say, I think that has been an area that each of our principals and their staff, our parent liaisons, have been working very hard to host forums as well as parent workshops around these topics. And so I will say, I think that's been some of the areas that have really worked well for us.
Good. Thank you.
Okay, I would like to note that Mr. Mandrick is with us now, our 5th board member. So please make sure that Mr. Mandrick is noted. Thank you, Bruce, for being here with us. Thank you. All right. So we will just continue. As you said, it's very fluid. So we will continue to just wait, and you will bring us continued information as it happens. And we're all in the same situation all across the states, I should say, not just California, but particularly in California, all trying to figure out where we're going and what we're going to do. All right. Any other comments or questions for the school reopening updates? Seeing and hearing none, we will move to our next study session, Coherence update. And thank you, Mr. Sample and Dr. McCormick, for working with staff and the information you bring to us. Very good information. Thank you. Okay.
I definitely want to build on that, Miss Lily, and affirm both Jason and Christine, because as you can tell, they have positioned themselves as the expert in this area. Jason has been attending many different public health meetings, county meetings, to stay on the fluid edge, so to speak, of what is known at the moment. And Christine has been just working tirelessly with each of the principals to try to help give them resources, also attending multiple webinars simultaneously to hear every piece of available information. And we certainly would not be positioned as well as we are without both of them leading their parts. And I just definitely want to affirm them both as well. And then with that, lead into our coherence update, as you had said, Madam President. So
Yes.
our coherence update, as you know, we're about 6 years or more into our coherence work, and really made a commitment that despite the pandemic and the distance learning, we were not going to lose ground in that significant work. And as Dr. McCormick shifted into her assistant superintendent role, she has taken prime point on continuing that work with our different vendors. So I want to definitely affirm Christine for continuing that forward momentum, and she is going to update you on that work today.
Great, thank you. Dr. McCormick.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to give you this update on coherence. Yes, it has been a shift in our delivery model as we begin to learn how to do the work in a different way, but I think we've been very successful. So I wanted to first affirm our partnership with Future Management Systems and Lead Teach Learn 360 to develop and design and deliver this model, and give you an update of what we've done so far between August and actually an hour or so ago, when I had just a debrief meeting with our team to talk about where we are, what we've done, and how we're moving forward. So the plan for this year has really been divided in several different buckets. First of all, starting with focusing on our principals and helping them to build their own capacity so that we can continue to sort of do that gradual release of responsibility, as we would talk about in a classroom, to help them lead their coherence teams. So we've had 11 sessions with our schools in partnership with Lead Teach Learn and Future Management Systems as one component. Another key component has been our focus on leading from the middle. So how that initial planning with the principal and the coherence team, how that translates into the development of their plans for the year, their focus, their blueprints for moving forward with their particular data-driven focus area, as well as their comprehensive support and improvement plans for those schools that need a particular focus based on their California school dashboard. So that work has also been moving forward in a virtual setting. And then our most recent meeting is really a new partnership that we entered into as a model this year, was now connecting the work of our curriculum instructional coaches on our campus with their principal, defining that role. How do they fit into that coherence plan? How do these teams all work together to really focus on developing classrooms that support student learning? We're supporting the teachers and what they need. We're building on that instructional framework. So that's been our work so far. And then we are definitely moving forward and looking forward to what's coming next. So this partnership expands as we move into the rest of October, December, and February for some components of very focused professional development with our school sites that, again, is being built in that partnership, really trying to build that internal capacity. Lesson study hopefully will be in person at some point, but we have a virtual plan to support teachers in lesson study. Again, what our learning partners with Future Management Systems and LTL 360 is building the capacity of our school site staff to, as sort of the guide on the side, to help them with the lesson study process. We'll continue our principal coaching, continue work in our leading from the middle, as I mentioned, focused not only on the progress monitoring of their individual plans, but if they were one of those comprehensive and support schools, that we're doing that progress monitoring and moving those plans forward. Some coaching, very similar to that first meeting we had with this curriculum coaches. We have some to-do list tasks in the Ed Services Department that we're going to continue moving forward. And then we'll come back with Future Management Systems and LTL 360 to firm up those next steps. Again, constantly working on how we can help and guide and build the capacity of all of our school teams. And then our Educational Services Department absolutely benefits from this work as well. We're blessed to be able to meet with Wendy from LTL 360 and Lyle Kurtman from Future Management Systems to talk about how we take the work that we're doing collaboratively and continue to keep that moving forward. What are our next steps that we can do to support each of our school sites, each of our administrators in building their own capacity? So that's your brief update of where we are, and would be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions from our board members? Do I see any hands? I have one. You referred to the school team.
Mhm.
Who's on the school team? How is it made up?
It actually depends on each school site. They've really designed their teams to, some are the standard leadership team that you may see on a setting with your administrators and your curriculum coaches, instructional coaches. Some of our school sites have expanded that They want to build the capacity in a broader sense. So
Mhm.
they're bringing in teacher leaders, maybe a grade level lead or
Right.
a content level lead. So
Mhm.
each of the schools has worked closely in finding the system and the plan that works best for them. And it really is, I can't affirm enough the work of our school administrators to take on and own this work for themselves and be able to see how it fits in with all of the interrelated opportunities they have on their campus and really leveraging the strength of this work.
You answered my question. I was hoping it would be a broad contingency of people, not just the coaches, but, earmarking people with that leadership ability. So that's
Absolutely.
something I would see. Yeah. Anything else, board members? Dr. McCormick, Dr. Peterson, do you have something you want to add?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just want to add to what Dr. McCormick said and affirm her team and the sites, but I just want to keep bringing back the terminology. What we use in the GCC is the term connected autonomy, which means, this is how we've defined our work. For a long time, people were like, they'd come into the GCC and they'd say, but what makes you GCC? Because it's really 9 different schools. So I don't see it. And so this idea of connected autonomy is, I think, what makes us excellent. It's what makes us reach for excellence. Is every school has autonomy. We don't tell them who's on the team.
Mhm.
We tell them they will do the coherence work, and here's how the process will work. They get to choose the team, and they choose their focus, and they choose their goals. And I want to there are a number of people in our organization who don't understand that that's fairly unique, that most districts do not allow each site to kind of form their own sense of what's important and focus on it, but then work on it together. And it does take a lot of leadership. And I would say definitely want to affirm Christine and her team and our vendors, because when everybody is doing something just slightly different, it takes a little
Yeah.
more work. But then there's way more buy-in and way more commitment on behalf of each site because they're doing what they know is the most important work.
It's
So
not
definitely
top
want to
down.
affirm that.
Yeah, it is not top down. You will do it this way. It is from the bottom up. The schools are making that decision, which usually has the best benefit, more so than top down. So thank you, Dr. McCormick. Thank you for your vision. All right. Any other comments from board members? Seeing none, we shall move on. We are now moving into consent agenda items. All right. Adoption of the minutes of the September 29th meeting. Personnel consent agenda. Purchases over 30,000. El Dorado County Charter SAPA local plan, Section B, and the Charter SAPA participation agreement. I will now entertain a motion for the consent agenda items. Yes, Bruce.
I'll move approval of the consent agenda.
Okay. And Jack, did I see your hand? Yes.
A second.
The second. All right. We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion on any of the items listed? Any discussions? Any questions? Seeing and hearing none, I will now do roll call for the vote. Mr. Anderson. Mark
Yes.
Anderson. Harry Block.
Yes.
Bruce Mandrick.
Yes.
Jack Turner.
Yes.
Lily Campbell, yes. So all of the consent agenda items have been approved unanimously. And with that, we are now moving to board comments. We are down to board comments. Board members? Any comments from any of the board members? All right, I will be going with Dr. Peterson on the 20th to GIS for their hearing. We will be meeting at 3 o'clock virtual for the GIS, and that's approval of the baccalaureate program. So people will be coming looking at us. So is that correct, Dr. Peterson?
It is I believe it is their primary year program authorization
Yes.
visit for International Baccalaureate. So
Right.
yes, we will be affirming their great work during that time.
Yes. And we will again, please give all of our administrative team and staff our sincere appreciation for all of the hard work. Again, just sorry we can't be there in person to see them and be with them, but again, thank them for everything. Okay, any other board comments? No board comments? Anything the board members can do, you will be presenting the plan tonight, YOLO EPIC plan. Anything you need from any of the board members? Anything?
No, Dr. Kosh, Dr. McCormick, Mr. Sample, they have this covered. It is just our annual update to the board. We
Okay.
don't perceive there to be any issues of concern. And we're looking forward to the opportunity to share with the board the great work that EPIC has been doing.
Fantastic, fantastic. Okay, then announcement of the next board meeting, Tuesday, October the 27th, 2020, regular time, 4:45. Any other, Bruce, we're glad to see you. Thank you for being here. I know, thank you. Any other closing comments from anyone? Hearing none, okay. I will entertain a motion for adjournment. Yes, Mr. Block. You, okay,
So moved.
so move the adjournment. Second, Mr. Anderson.
I second.
It has been moved in second. All in favor? Aye.
Bye.